Good evening. The state's mental health system is tonight under the microscope after a young man was charged with murder over a stabbing rampage at Marylands.
The chilling attack unfolded in front of multiple security cameras, the alleged killer picking his targets at random. And tonight we're learning more about his troubled past.
They are the last few moments of an innocent man's life. Aman Sadar did not know his attacker, and it's hoped he did not know he had just minutes to live.
I could see the pain and the suffering in his eyes.
Stabbed in the neck with a kitchen knife, his accused attacker, Stefano Leotoa, walks away after he's alleged to have already altered the lives of two other people.
Oh my God, someone call an ambulance.
The knife man did not give the impression he was about to attack, but Amprika Sharma was. A worker rushes to help before bystanders come to her aid. Both she and Amir Sen were left with critical injuries. 25-year-old Leotoa was arrested nearby and charged with murder and attempted murder. His mental health now at the forefront of the investigation. On the 5th of February, a magistrate ordered Stefano Leotoa be detained in a mental health facility. 2 days later, he escaped while being transferred from Cumberland to Westmead Hospital. Police were called, but he was on the run for 10 days, until yesterday's deadly attack.
This person was known to our health services, had spent time in our hospitals, was receiving care. But those episodes of drug-induced psychosis are difficult to plan for and manage.
If anyone knows failings when treating the mentally unwell, it is Jeff Toga. His son Stephen, a paramedic, was repeatedly stabbed without warning while on a break during a night shift.
I was promised when what happened to my son occurred that that'd be the catalyst for change, and that was 3 years ago. As far as I'm aware, nothing's happened since.
His son's killer was mentally impaired.
How many times does this have to happen?
It also happened on Saturday morning. 2 innocent women killed when an allegedly stolen car smashed into their Alfa Romeo in Camden after a police chase. 7 News understands the alleged driver, Luke Francis, escaped from Cumberland Hospital on the 8th of February. He was found 2 days later but wasn't readmitted.
Our psychiatric system is under strain. We have less than 30 beds per 100,000 people in New South Wales, where we should be aiming at around 60. So we do need more funding.
That was a finding too of the Bondi Junction stabbing inquest. The coroner recommending more community outreach programs as well as housing for those with a mental illness. But that will take time. Too late for the victims of yesterday's attack.
If there are things that we can do better, we'll absolutely be looking at that.
Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
They've witnessed and lived through the horrific crimes of a terrorist organisation, but now the Home Affairs Minister has told 7 News Australia has an obligation to provide passports to women and children trying to return home from Islamic State camps in Syria. We can also reveal tonight that Australians are among hundreds of terror fighters transferred by American forces out of Syrian prisons. Our political editor Mark Riley reports.
Welcoming Australia's 150 newest citizens at a ceremony in Sydney's Bankstown.
Fantastic.
Telling 7 News why he won't welcome 34 other citizens, ISIS brides and their children.
It's an appalling decision that they made. It's created horrific consequences for their children. They should not have made that decision.
Their escape mission turned back by the Syrian military despite new passports issued by the Australian government. Not help, says the minister, but international law.
If anyone's an Australian citizen, then by law there's an obligation to issue them with a passport.
One bride has been slapped with a temporary exclusion order, banned from returning, considered too big a security risk. The others are free to return on their own if they can get out, but could face charges. As the minister faces claims a close supporter, refugee advocate Dr Jamal Rifi, is trying to help the ISIS brides return.
Why is Tony Burke's political fundraiser actually on the ground helping this cohort make their way to Australia? something stinks.
Bridget McKenzie has a habit of making things up.
He says he hasn't spoken to Dr. Rifi.
I don't know whether he's in Australia or whether he's overseas.
Between 2013 and 2017, 40 Australian ISIS fighters, wives and children returned independently. And in 2019, the Morrison government returned 7 ISIS orphans and a pregnant 16-year-old. In 2022, the Albanese government brought back 4 women and 13 children. And 7 News has learned 13 Australian-born ISIS fighters are among hundreds now being transferred out of Syrian prisons and across the border into Iraq, where they'll be held and interrogated in heavily fortified detention by US-led forces. The fighters are seen here being corralled in Syria before being moved in a covert US operation. This Iraqi government document recording among them the 13 Australian ISIS terrorists.
Those fighters were locked up and are still locked up.
And likely to remain locked up for a long time. Tony Burke accuses the opposition of hypocrisy, pointing out that ISIS fighters returned when they were in power, not just brides, but the Albanese government has funded that return mission in 2022 as well, and now refuses to help at all. So what's changed? Tony Burke told me a policy decision to pull all support for returning ISIS brides was taken some time ago, before the last election, and he quickly pointed out a long time before the Bondi terrorist attack.
OK, Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. One Nation leader Pauline Hanson has lit a firestorm in Western Sydney, declaring Lakemba a no-go zone for what she calls ordinary Australians. She says the high number of Muslims living there makes people feel unsafe, and that has been met with disgust.
These, according to Pauline Hanson, are the dangerous streets of Lakemba, a suburb overrun with Muslims.
The public don't feel safe in our streets anymore.
Her blunt assessment dropped on an upcoming episode of the 7 News podcast, The Issue.
You have places in Sydney, western suburbs, that Australians don't want to go there, or you're not welcomed.
And during a mini media blitz today, she honed in.
They don't want to go in certain suburbs, and I've been there myself in Lakemba.
Which suburb?
You feel unwanted, you not want to be there. Lakemba. Have you been there?
She's wrong. No, welcome for all Australian to come to Lakemba.
Everywhere you go, people smile at you. Everywhere you walk, people are smiling at you.
Pauline Hanson hates this country so much, I reckon she should pack her bag and leave.
But they've heard these sentiments before. In recent weeks, the Lakemba Mosque has been targeted, receiving another threatening letter today.
No one likes to hear racist comments. No one likes to hear other people putting people down.
Muslim leaders point out the spiritual month of Ramadan begins today, and that means Lakemba's popular night markets, drawing people from all over Sydney.
To show her that we are human beings, perhaps not exactly like her, because we are open-minded and open-hearted.
For Ramadan here, police have moved to reassure the Muslim community there'll be additional resources, including under Operation Shelter, for religious and community sites.
I'm for Australian, our culture and our way of life, and I will stand up and fight for that every day.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
A man has been jailed for up to a year over an anti-Semitic speech on Australia Day. 34-year-old Brandon Koshel was charged with publicly inciting hatred following an open mic session during an anti-immigration March for Australia rally at Moore Park.
The greatest enemy to this nation. They always have been. They're an enemy to Western civilisation.
Today, a magistrate said jail time was necessary to show such comments will not be tolerated. He'll be eligible for parole in October.
A suspicious package has forced some of Australia's top defence figures to evacuate a Canberra conference. The alert came while the Defence Industry Minister was giving an address.
Unfortunately, we just need you to depart and come over with your CPP team. And everyone else will just need to leave the area.
OK. I apologise, everyone.
That followed an earlier scare at the same venue. A rock was thrown into a window after former Defence Minister Christopher Pyne gave remarks. The Federal Police bomb squad was called in, but it's thought the rock was thrown by children on bikes.
A Sydney businessman is on trial, charged with foreign interference, accused of selling reports about Australia's security capabilities to China. More than 60 witnesses are set to be called, including a former Prime Minister.
He was first charged almost 3 years ago, accused of selling state secrets. And today, Alexander Sergo went on trial in the district court.
Good to see. Nice to get some photos.
The 59-year-old was arrested in April 2023 at his Bondi home shortly after arriving from Shanghai, later pleading not guilty to one count of reckless foreign interference, accused of covert and deceptive conduct by accepting cash payments from two Chinese operatives named Ken and Evelyn in exchange for reports about Australia's defence, economic and security arrangements. More than 60 witnesses will be called in the trial, including officers from the Federal Police, Border Force, Foreign Affairs and the Tax Office, along with former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd.
The trial is expected to last around 3 weeks. If found guilty, Alexander Sergo is facing up to 15 years behind bars,
with the jury of 12 required to reach a unanimous verdict on the Commonwealth charge. Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
An 85-year-old grandfather is still missing almost a week after he was abducted from his North Ryde home. Police continue to appeal for Chris Bagzarian's release, insisting his kidnappers have the wrong man. There are growing concerns about his well-being due to his age and because he requires daily medication.
Many Australians are now rethinking their private health insurance with the biggest hike to premiums in almost a decade. The above inflation increase will hit households from April. Consumer Affairs Editor Georgia Holland has more.
More than 15 million Australians pay for private health insurance and their bills are about to go up. The government approving a 4.41% increase to premiums. It means a family with an average priced gold hospital policy could pay $330 more annually. Those with silver cover face an increase of $166, while bronze policies are expected to rise by $120. Individuals will be stung between $59 and $167 a year. But that's all based on the average increase of 4.41%. The four biggest health insurers are increasing premiums even further. NIB the highest at 5.47%.
These increases are the lowest possible increases that are consistent with a viable private hospital sector.
CanStar warns some gold hospital policies could rise by as much as 12%. To save, review your level of cover and extras. Consider switching providers or see if you can prepay for the year before the hike kicks in.
Officially, wages are up, but in reality, Australian workers have been served a pay cut. New figures out today reveal annual pay rose by 3.4% in the year to December 2025. But that growth was outstripped by inflation, up 3.8% in the same period.
That's a good, strong and sustainable number, but with inflation higher than we'd like, obviously that has implications for real wages.
The Treasurer insists wages have been trending positively overall.
A giant of the civil rights movement in the United States, Reverend Jesse Jackson, has passed away.
He once stood alongside Martin Luther King Jr. fighting to keep his dream alive and paved the way for Barack Obama to become America's first black president. The 84-year-old is being remembered today for his tireless commitment to justice and equality.
A captivating speaker.
Keep hope alive! Keep hope alive!
The voice of the marginalised and the disenfranchised. Jesse Jackson, the young protege of Martin Luther King Jr., who was by his side when he was gunned down.
Police were coming from the direction of the shot. They had been lined up along the streets.
Jackson kept up King's fight, advocating for minorities' voting rights, job opportunities, education and health.
I may be poor, but I am somebody.
He launched 2 bids for president, his 1984 campaign, the first time a major party had an African-American contender. He didn't win the Democratic nomination, but came close in 1988.
My right and my privilege to stand here before you has been won in my lifetime by the blood and the sweat of the innocent.
2 decades later, America elected Barack Obama, its first black president. From the Obamas today, we stood on his shoulders. Reverend Jackson created opportunities for generations of African Americans. He laid the foundation for my own campaign to the highest office of the land. From the current US president, I knew him well. Long before becoming president, he was a good man with lots of personality, grit and street smarts. Jackson passed away peacefully after dedicating his life to keeping hope alive.
Our flag is red, white and blue, but our nation is rainbow. Red, yellow, brown, black and white, we're all precious in God's sight.
In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Time to check today's weather now with Amber Laidler. Amber, showers arrived this afternoon.
Mark Ange, good evening. Yeah, those falls arrived fast, sweeping over the city after a hot and sunny start. You can see plenty of blue there in the city before those showers arrived around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Similar scenes across the suburbs as those skies turned dark. This is how it all played out at Blacktown this afternoon. 6 to 7 millimetres was really the worst of it over an hour, recorded in multiple suburbs from North Parramatta, Merrylands to Rose Bay and Manly. And as they moved in, temperatures started plummeting after tops today soared several degrees above the February average. In fact, shortly before lunchtime, the airport was hovering around 35.3 degrees, and at that moment it was the hottest temperature anywhere in Australia. Looking ahead, it appears we haven't seen the last of the showers or the heat, with more of both to come this week. More details are coming up in your full forecast soon.
Okay, thank you, Amber.